Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for being here. My name is Benedict. I'm a member of the PhDOOC Association, and today I'm delighted to be talking to Gertrude Nonterah. Hello, Gertrude.
Hello, thanks for having me.
No, it's our pleasure. It's really a pleasure to have you with us. And so before we start, I wanted to know if you could tell us a bit about yourself, who you are, and what you do.
Yes, absolutely. So again, my name is Gertrude Nonterah, and I graduated from a PhD in microbiology and immunology in 2015. I currently work as a scientific/medical writer with a marketing agency that focuses on creating content for life and health science companies. And one of my passions also, which is a side project, is a side project, but it's becoming a main project now, is the Bold PhD. And on the Bold PhD, I have a YouTube channel as well as a website. And this is where I share insights on how PhD students can prepare and navigate their non-academic career market.
Yeah, and I've actually been on your Twitter account and on your website. And you have many articles that are really helpful for people to navigate the first year of their PhD and then transition into different careers.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so it's a wonderful resource. And today we have a few questions for you about the use of social media for PhDs. And the first question we have is how important social media are for PhDs who want to stay in academia. Can it help them improve their and how can you help them improve their communication skills if they want to stay in academia?
In academia, absolutely. So absolutely. So social media, I think, is important for everyone. So one of the things I say is that one of the qualms people have sometimes about putting themselves on social media is that it's too public, or, I don't want people to view me a certain way. And, my argument always is that PhDs and academics have been building these sorts of personal brands for a really long time. We used to do it by going to conferences, by publishing papers, by presenting our work, right? That's what we used to do. But then we live in an era, and you also have to understand that even publishing papers, that sometimes is difficult because you have gatekeepers, you have people who need to make sure that they preserve the integrity of the journal. And so they want to make sure the research coming to the journal is peer reviewed and all these things, which is a good thing. It's actually a really good thing because then we get quality research. But one thing that social media does is that it sort of democratizes the ability to actually talk about your research so that you're not subject to, oh, people only know you from the journals, but also, like, how does your work meaningfully connect with the real world? And that's one of the ways that I've been encouraging people to, especially PhDs and academics, to use social media as a way to connect with people that may never read those papers, that may never come to a talk you give, never come to the conference that you give. They're lay people, they're still really smart, but they really want to understand. And I think this pandemic has highlighted that, right? That people want to understand, what's a PCR test? Well, what does it mean if I get an antigen test? What, and that's work that because my field is microbiology and immunology, right? This is stuff that we were doing as research. Now we have to explain that. So when you begin to explain it in a way that makes sense to other people beyond academia, okay, you begin to become a trusted and respected authority because you share that work. And so it can help, and you say, how can I help improve your communication skills? Well, I kind of said it right there, right? If you're able to take something that's super complex and explain it to somebody that has never taken a class of your major or your subject ever, but you can explain it and they're like, oh, I get it. You have, that's the proof that your communication skills are good. And so by writing and sharing this stuff, with colleagues as well as with a lay audience, you do automatically, your communication skills are going to be improved because people are going to ask you to have to explain what you have to say.
Yeah, thank you, Gertrude. That's really wonderful advice. And actually, doing this exercise can help people gain skills that will help them teach later on, because staying in academia means that you may have to teach or you may have to mentor people. And so that will help you actually develop skills to explain things. Yeah. And as you said, yeah, COVID definitely forced scientists to explain what they're doing, on a daily basis. So.
Yeah.
So that's for people who want to stay in academia. And many people also want to leave and transition out of academia. And companies are putting a lot of information on social media. And so I was wondering how people can actually stay on track with what companies do, how they can use social media to their advantage as well to present themselves and forecast their skills and highlight what they've been doing so far.
Absolutely, great question. So when it comes, because that's what I usually talk about on the board PhD, but when it comes to transitioning out of academia, right, I see social media really, it's a tool both for personal branding, both as somebody that wants to stay in academia and somebody that wants to transition out of academia. But the really powerful thing about those of us that have transitioned or want to transition out of academia is that a platform like LinkedIn, let's say, or even Twitter, is a really good place to find people who have already made that transition, who are already doing something that you may be interested in. So I'm a medical writer, and I have had a lot of people who are interested in medical writing connect with me on LinkedIn or Twitter and ask, hey, so, you're a medical writer, how did you get into that? And most of the time, sometimes I don't have the time, but when I do, I will make time to maybe jump on a Zoom call or even answer their questions via direct messaging and say, hey, this is how I got started. I even have a video on it. And I send it to them. And usually I'll get really positive feedback back. And that says, oh, thank you so much for sharing that with me. I never knew this career path existed. Now I know more. Now I have some knowledge as I consider to transition out of academia and maybe consider medical writing. So I really do believe that it's such a powerful place for you to connect with people that are in those career paths, right? As you begin to think, okay, I want to transition out of academia, but what careers do I want to get into? Okay, maybe you've heard about medical writing. Maybe you've heard about being an R&D scientist in industry, or you've heard about being a technical sales person in industry, right? And so what these platforms allow you to do is connect with people who are in these professions, and for you to do your due diligence and research on that career path to see if it's something that you want to get into. Another thing that sometimes people don't realize is that there's a statistic out there, and I think this was something that NPR reported about 10 years ago, okay? But I really think it's really true. It's still true. And the statistic is that around 70% of jobs never get posted online. They are filled by people's networks, okay? So when you begin to ask, you connect with me, right, Bene? You connect with me, you say, oh, Gertrude, I'm interested in getting into medical writing. What do you think I should do? And then I share something with you, okay? And then maybe, we continue building the relationship somewhat. You don't have to be best friends. That's the other thing. You don't have to be people's best friends. You just have to connect with people. And now you are within my network, right? So let's say that a role opens up in my agency and I know you. I've seen how you're trying to build up your skills. I've seen that you've been trying to implement some of the things I shared with you. Maybe you're really interested. So now you're really doing it. I'm going to tell my boss that, I know this girl, Bene, and I think she would be really good to consider for this role, right? So right there, even though it may be posted online, even it may not be posted online, but I've been told before it was posted online, that position could be filled before it's ever posted online because of my network. Okay, so that's something I don't want people to downplay. A lot of people, when they're looking for jobs, and I made this mistake, I was applying online, looking for all kinds of things online. That's just 30% of the job market. So you are missing out a whole job market by not connecting with people. So that's what another thing social media lets you do. And of course, places like LinkedIn positions and jobs are posted all the time. So you get to find out about those positions. And the way that I got into the role I'm in right now, my boss we were connected on LinkedIn, and she had posted about it. She wasn't my boss then. I was teaching at a community college. I saw the post and I immediately clicked the link. I went to apply. The same day I got a response, and then I started working, there maybe a few months later. So it's really important. Social media is crucial when you want to transition out of academia, and people should strongly consider it.
Thank you, Gertrude, for sharing your experience on social media. One of the things that can be hard sometimes for some people is that they're shy about jumping on LinkedIn and creating a profile, or they have no idea how to present themselves, or they present themselves in a very academic way, like citing all the papers instead of highlighting skills, for example. So I was wondering if you had any advice for people to really present who they are on LinkedIn, for example.
Absolutely. So yes, I know I look like an extrovert. Well, I'm an extroverted introvert. So sometimes people get really confused. They're like, but you're such an extrovert. But really, like, there's a part of me that also is shy and quiet, and I'm not fully an extrovert. So I totally identify with people that say I feel shy, and I don't know if I'm going to be rejected, or and I want to say that it's normal for people not to respond to you. Let's say that you decide to create a LinkedIn profile and start connecting with people and start asking people questions. It's very normal for people to ignore you. Okay, you just need 1 or 2 people to respond to you. That's it. And just that 1 or 2 people that you talk to, you're going to gather a lot of information. So I say, I know it's hard, but this is your career, right? And when we want something, I think sometimes we have to overcome some of the fears and some of the barriers that stand in our way, but do it in your own way, right? Maybe you don't want to get on a Zoom call with somebody, but maybe you can send them 3 questions via email or via LinkedIn, right? So send those questions and say, I would really love for you to answer these questions for me. Maybe you're not one to post on social media much. That's okay. You don't have to. Do things your way, but also don't cheat yourself of a career by being so afraid to connect with people, because I think sometimes that comes from the fear of rejection. People are going to ignore you, and that is, I just want to tell people that's okay. It's normal. I had a lot of people ignore me, not respond to my messages, but I'm here. The little bit I learned from the people that would connect with me was helpful. So that's what I have to say for my fellow shy people.
No, it's great advice. Really taking the leap of faith, giving it a try, and in the end, even if you connect with 2 people out of 5, these 2 people will give you all the information you need. So thank you for that. The last question I have for you is, since being on social media can sometimes lead people to share a lot of information and have a hard time deciding what to share, what not to share. I was wondering if you had any advice for people to take care of their social media identity or their online identity, and make sure that the information they put out there is not going to be an issue for them later on when they interview for positions.
Yes. So this is really important because we've seen how that has damaged people's careers. So I always say that if you wouldn't say something to somebody in person to their face, don't post it online. I know that sometimes we have a habit of maybe, and we've all done it, right? Of saying what we think about something behind the scenes, and then thinking that it's okay to share that because we live in an age where it's like, share what you believe and share all this, right? And yes, I believe in sharing in what you believe, but there are certain things that can be damaging. There are certain things that are disrespectful to others, because maybe you don't have that perspective. There are certain things that are inappropriate, to be honest, right? Just inappropriate in general, just in general. It may not be inappropriate to certain people, but just in general. So one of the rules I have for myself is if I wouldn't say something to somebody's face, I won't put it online. If I consider something, sometimes I'll write something and I think about it and I say, is this thing going to be disrespectful to somebody? Is it going to, and this doesn't mean that you always have to censor yourself and not say things that you mean, but you have to consider, right? Because like you rightly said, there are things that people have said online that 10 years later have come to bite them. And maybe back then you were a completely different person, and today you're a completely different person, and so that's one of the things that, especially with the kind of environment we live in, I've been wary of that. If I wouldn't say something in front of somebody's face, I don't say it, and if it's disrespectful, I won't put it online. Also, I think that before you start building a personal brand or creating a presence online, you have to consider what it is you want to share and what it is that is off limits, right? So for instance, in my case, I hardly share about my family, even though I have one. So sometimes people don't even know I have a family. I've had, and this is maybe going to be a little funny, I've had people proposition me in my DMs because they didn't know I was married, right? And that you also should not do that, by the way. It's just not the best. I don't know. Maybe that's how some people find their spouses, but it's kind of weird. But anyway, that's one thing that's kind of off limits, unless it's my personal. I have a personal Instagram, and even then, once I noticed like too many people from my professional life were following, I kind of held back, because I feel like that there should be a part of your life that's private to you. There should be a part of your life that's like sacred and it's like yours. I know we live in a culture where we like to share everything, but this is just my personal opinion. So things about my family, I hardly ever put online. But then I have curated or created something that's still authentic to me, right? Which is, I want people to know that their careers, I want PhDs and PhD students to know that their careers beyond academia. And so I talk mostly about that, right? And I create content around that. And occasionally I'll be funny, or, I'll have a joke here and there. But by and large, and I talk about medical writing too, but by and large, I try to stick to that brand, to that message, right? Because people didn't come to look at my cute family photos. They didn't come to look at my my personal life, and my personal life is my personal life. So I think that you have to determine what it is. Do I really want to share? What do I want to share with the world? And what do I want to keep sacred and to myself? It doesn't make you inauthentic. If there's a part of your life you want to keep to you, it's okay to have that. And I think that in doing these things will help you take care of your brand, make sure you present a cohesive message, and also ensure that later on in your career, something doesn't come to like harm you, So those are my thoughts on that.
Thank you very much, Gertrude. This is very useful advice, I think. And also thank you for sharing your own experience and the way you do this, taking care of your, I would say, online identity. So that's it for me today. Thank you so much, Gertrude, for coming. And I would like to encourage everyone to take a look at her website, theboldphd.com, if I'm not mistaken. This video will be on the PhDOOC YouTube channel, and all the MOOC participants will be able to access it at the end of the MOOC. Thank you so much, Gertrude, and enjoy the rest of your day.
Thank you so much, Bene.